A new aircraft is available for Flight Simulator 2020. It's the ATR 42600. Oh, actually there are two aircrafts, or two different types of the same aircraft, because in parallel the 72600 has been released. You can see that they've got, let's say, more or less the same let's say specifications, right? 300 maximum cruise speed, maximum altitude 25,000, endurance 6 hours. Only the range is different, right? 703 vs 758 nautical miles. If we go to deliveries, this one, the first one comes with 3 liveries: the Air Saint Pierre and the Silver Airways, as well as the house livery. So that's cool, right? If we go to the weights and balance, you can see that you can change the fuel, but you also can change the individual payload for the pilot, the co-pilot, and then the flight attendant forward and afterward, then the cargoes, and then the packs, right, which are the passengers. You can see pack sector 1, maximum 6 passengers, then 2, 3, and 4, maximum 12, and then packs number 5, or 3, yeah, pack sector 5, maximum 6 users. So that's cool. If we go to the failures, you can see that they enabled all the failures, including, I would say, complete failures, oil system failures, ignition failures, including fire, as well as the customizations, of course, right? The customizations are, I'd say, kind of normal, right? In some cases, you can play around with this one if you want to make it more realistic. You can change it, for example, to the wear and tear, right? Which will definitely impact the aircraft's performance. And it says, okay, also here, right, in the help text, okay, simulate the aircraft's performance degradation due to the wear and tear by adding up to 10% parasite drag, and you can simply change it by moving this button, right, to 10. Then will make it harder. The same thing is for the elevator, the rudder, and the aileron authority adjustment. You can change the, I would say, you can change all 3 of them individually, both positively but also negatively. Currently they are set to 0.0%. In some case you might need to change it. The thing which they didn't do for this aircraft is pre-populating the tail number, call sign, and the flight number, so you need to do that manually, else it will be, I think, manually or automatically generated. That's the first type, that's the 42600. If we go to the other one, the 72600, that one comes with a little bit more liveries. First of all, the house livery, then the next one is the Air Tahiti, or the next 3 ones are the Air Tahiti, but there are different, let's say, names, right? The Tapuata, the Anuana, and the Rivera. You can see that they also have their own call signs, and then they have the Silver Airways one. All rotor aircrafts are really cool to see, right? So what I'm now going to do is I'm just going to simply select one of them. Well, let's pick the Air Tahiti one. And then let's go to the world map, and then let's select, say, a location where we can depart from, right? So let's go to Hawaii, which is over here. And then let's see, is there an airport here? Yes, there is. Okay, in that case, let's put it over here and then click fly. I will pause the recording of this video because it will take some time before the aircraft loads. That has to do with the, I would say, rendering which needs to happen, and the compiling. That's only the first time that you load an aircraft. Once you install it, it will take a little bit more time. In most cases a few minutes, but in worst case it will take you 10 minutes or even longer, and I don't want you to watch at this screen for 10 minutes. So see you back in a few seconds. Or actually, it's already there. That's crazy. Well, maybe that's another improvement, right? So here we've got the aircraft, right? So let's go outside. Let's see, hide all the other windows, the ATC and the Navigraph window. Go away. Let's give it some time. So, there it is. Right, so here's the aircraft. So the aircraft is currently parked at one of the airports, right? I would say close to Hawaii. And you can see, I would say, the level of detail, right? And keep in mind that I didn't even increase it to the maximum I would say video quality, because then it will be, I would say, machine simply not fast enough. If I would open it on my Xbox, then it would probably look even nicer. And this is what you can see, right? So look at this detail, right? It's really crazy how much detail there is on this aircraft. If we go to the rotors themselves, you can see also that they spent some serious amount of time on, let's say, animating them. And the same thing is over here, right? If you look at this sharpness, it's really cool. And this is what you get for, I would say, if you ask me, a very small amount of money which they ask for it, because it's, I would say, I don't think it's very expensive, right? Even if you're a deluxe or premier or premium, sorry, owner of Flight Simulator, then it's really cheap, because then you will even get discount. You can see the detail of the lights over here, going down, then going under the aircraft, and then specifically looking at the gears. You can see here the springs and the hydraulic systems. Pretty impressive. Going to the front, same thing, right? All the systems are emulated. So going a little bit higher and then making a turn, then we will hopefully end up in the cabin. But it's always a challenge, right? Because there's, I would say, it's crazy fast, so that you need to decrease the speed of the camera. So here we are. We're now in the seats, so not very helpful. Going down again, but then still a little bit slower. So here you can see the cabin, right? And the cabin also has been, I would say, fully modeled, right? Including the chairs. There's no, I would say, booklets in front of it, but you can see the trays are nicely, I would say, connected. If we would go to the door over here, we can see that there's the door of the pilot, including the phone for the, let's say, stewards or the flight attendants to call the pilots. Let's go to the back of the aircraft, going to the chairs, and oh, a little bit too far. And that's where we can see the rest of the aircraft, or the rest of the kitchen, right? That's what it is. Now if we go inside the cockpit, we will see a lot of things, right? So first we see the electronic flight bag, or flight pad, what's also sometimes being called. That one looks a little bit different compared to the ones which you might be used to. You've got the payload, which you can set up here, right? Here you can even see the operating speeds, the retract gear, at what, say, speed you need to do it, the flaps and the impact, and then of course the weight, the zero fuel weight, the gross weight, and you can use it to set it, right? So you can use this one to configure it. If you press the info option or info button, you will see this information, right? So you can see the VMO, maximum operating speed, the MMO, the maximum operating speed, VA, maximum design maneuvering speed, all kind of cool information. Then if we go to the performance, that's where you can set the V1, the VR, and the V2 speeds, right? Those are, I would say, normally next to the, I would say, speedometer, where you can see, okay, hey, I'm currently hitting V1, then VR, then V2, right? Landing data, reverse thrust, that's for, I would say, landing. Then you can specify, hey, I want to use the reverse thrust, or I don't want to use it. As well as you can specify the runway condition. Runway condition could be dry, wet, water, snow, or ice. So cool. And then you can specify, or then it will calculate, likely automatically, the required runway length, as well as the arrival runway length. And I do think that this one will be picked up from the flight plan itself. Moving over to the aircraft itself, there we've got the other options, right? So we can connect the ground power, we can open the doors, we can open the service door, and we can open the cargo door, as well as changing the mode where the aircraft is in, right? So you can say cold and dark, which means simply you need to do it all by hand. External power, which connects the external power. Hotel mode, not sure what that means, but maybe it's, I would say, it becomes a hotel. And then ready for taxi, which will make sure that it's, I would say, ready for taxiing. Right, if we would go outside now, we would probably see a lot of additional things being added to the aircraft, right? You can see the doors are open, even the doors to enter the aircraft. I don't see the external power, to be honest, but that could be, I would say, maybe that's me. I don't see it. Do you see it? No. It's, I would say, it's hidden. So maybe Something will be added to the in the future where they will add it, as well as the tail prop. Not sure what the tail prop is. Let's go to the back of the aircraft. Tail prop. Where are you? Oh, that's this one, right? So here you can see the tail prop. So that can all be done by using the electronic flight bag. Now if you go into the maintenance mode, you can see that there are, let's say, fire protection, right, the bottle and the squib, as well as the brake temperatures you can reset, as well as the oxygen supply, which can be refilled by simply hitting this button. It looks like that it doesn't do a lot because it's not illuminating, right? Only the button itself is illuminating, but not, I would say, the square around it. But, hey, looks cool. Then if you go into the options, that's where you can do a lot of things, and those are also the things which you need to be aware of, right? So first of all, you can set the avionics mode, which is in my case set to EASA, but you can also set to FAA. The same thing you can do for the autopilot disconnect sensitivity, right? That means if you are on autopilot and you're moving your stick and you're moving it slowly, then in this case it has a low sensitivity, so you need to push the stick really hard. That will simply disconnect the autopilot. If you want to be more sensitive, then you need to set it, of course, to high. Weight units, kilogram or lbs, temperature, same thing, Celsius or Fahrenheit, and then the altimeter units and sync. So currently it's set to in sync and it's used in hectopascal. You can also set it to LNAG if you want. The other thing is the PFD throttle hint, right? That will simply display the information if you didn't set up your throttle correctly, if you're using a throttle joystick. But you can do that by using this one. So you can either set it up as single or dual axis, which means that you've got, let's say, two options to, let's say, individually control the engines, right, the left and the right engine. And you can make sure that you switch the option throttle hardware has reverser axis. So if you don't have a joystick which has the reverser axis, then switch off this option, because else likely what will happen if you would put it in idle mode, it will go reverse. Then we've got the throttle position, right? So you need to make sure that you're putting it in the correct position and then press the set option, which will make sure that if you're accelerating or decreasing speed, that it will work correctly. And that's something which I would say definitely recommend you to do prior to starting everything, because else you might end up with, I would say, a real challenge in this case. Then we've got the display click spot help, right? Display click spot help. You can see that there are some more information over here. So you can see the bearing over here, and you can close it. Not sure what this is used for. I was thinking, hey, maybe you can click on it, but maybe the click spot is defined, I would say, on displays themselves, right? That's, I would say, a little bit hard to see currently, but it looks cool. So let's start the aircraft, right? So let's go to the aircraft option and then say, let's say, ready for taxi. If you use that option, it will automatically start the aircraft, right? So let's say it's almost a, hey, I can do it without hands. But I wouldn't do it normally like that, right? I would simply use the manual if there's a manual included. So let's check the checklist. And that's good, right? They included a full checklist, and the checklist will guide you to the different sections, and you can use this little eye icon to move to the correct position where that controller is. I just looked at the Flight Simulator website itself, and currently there's no manual yet. Normally what they will do is also publish the manual on their website, so you can use it, but looks like in this case they didn't do it yet. And so the aircraft is starting, right? It's still, I would say, busy starting. So let's look around in the cockpit, right? So you can see a lot of things. You can even put up the armrest or put it down. You've got the console cover, right? So let me move over there. Always a challenge moving it. And that's where you see, I would say, a lot of gouges, as you can see, but also some buttons, right, which you can use. The bus tie contractor, the maintenance test mode. These buttons can't be used, and the electronic indicators, but here you can also see the power related settings, as well as a switch cover, which will switch or block the nose wheel steering. Hard to say, and you can close it again. Then over here we've got some other nice systems, right? We have some, I would say, oxygen information which you can use, and of course the smoke goggles over here, and then we've got the systems over here where we've got a lot of buttons. You can set the target speed, the barometer, the MDA, the GPWS mode, the switch cover, the loudspeaker mode, and if you move the switch cover, you can say terrain inhabitant. Behind this button is also, let's say, as it looks like there's also something. So let's move around. You can hide the microphone, and then you can say the air data computer. You can say attitude, heading, display switch, and the audio selector, right? So the display switch likely manipulates this one, right? As you can see, you can switch between 3 modes. That's cool. And of course you can switch or increase the speaker for the captain. Over here we've got the different displays, right? So the different displays looks really cool. You can see some, I would say, I'm not sure what this is in, but looks like some nice drawing. And over here you can see that it looks like that you can click on items, but it doesn't look to be clickable, although the contrast and brightness can be done, as well as switching on and off the display individually. Then we've got this one, which indicates, okay, hey, what are the items which you've set up, as well as the radios which are currently configured. Here we've got the vertical horizon, we've got the power management, the engine boost, the eye detection, and then we've got the propeller electronic controls over here. Then we've got the pusher shaker here, and then we've got the aircraft performance monitor over here. Those are things which I will discuss in a future video in more detail. Then we've got the engine information, right? So the engine information about the engines. So it says, okay, pending before takeoff, right? And then you can see, okay, what are the other procedures which are available. Initially I was thinking, hey, you can click on these items, but it looks like that they are, I would say, kind of blocked. In addition to that, you can see the pitch, the ailerons, the rudder, as well as the flap selection. So you can easily see from this display, okay, what is the current position. Then we've got the engine EEC 1 and 2, as well as the ATPCS. Again, I'll go to the in a more, I would say, detailed video in the future. And then of course we've got the landing gear over here. But as you see, it's so detailed. There are so much buttons over here. And I would say I'm pretty impressed by the level of detail, and then again looking at the price, right? So you can see the FMS. That's where you can program the aircraft, right? You can set the position in it. You can see, okay, hey, the navigation data, which one to use. Currently it's using the MSFS, which is likely the built-in database from Flight Simulator. Then you've got the flight plan in it, where you can define the route as well as the secondary. You can set up the weight of the aircraft, the performance in it, of course, and that's where you come up with, okay, hey, the departing runway, what are the V1, VR, and V2 speeds, and that will likely help you to program the aircraft correctly, so you can take off safely. The good thing is that you can still go back to the menu, right? You can simply press the menu option, which will bring you back to this one. And that will allow you to configure many other things, as you can see. These buttons, the COM and the nav, they're changing this bottom part of the aircraft, right? So currently if you go to the bottom one, you can, or to the nav one, it changes this part, and then you can use these buttons, right? So you can't click over here. Oh, you can also click over here. That's cool. And if you type in something incorrectly, it will show you. So you can either use these buttons or click on these fields, right? So let's switch to ADF and the only. Oh, this is cool. This is something they really did really well. I'm really happy with this. So looks pretty nice. And then we can go to the surveillance mode, which allows you to set the transponder as well as the TCAS, right? TCAS stands to auto transponder code, of course. Communication radio, and then the nav again, right? So a lot of things which can all be controlled either by using the buttons over here or by simply pressing the option over here when you go over them with the mouse. That's for this part. I do assume that they implemented the same thing over here, but maybe I'm wrong about that. It looks like I'm wrong about that. Oh yeah, because this is display, right? So it's the right display. I'm not sure how to control this one, so that will be, I would say, another thing which I probably need to figure out, because clicking on this one doesn't work. But I do expect that it can be controlled either with something, right? Not with this one, because that's for the cockpit. Maybe some other nice buttons over here which I didn't figure out yet, which allows you to control this part. If you figured it out already, then leave it in the comment box, right? Always happy to learn from somebody else. What do we have else? Well, the throttle, of course, right? Throttle and the parking brake, as well as the engine levelers, the power levelers, and then of course a lot of buttons which you can use to control the radios and the ADFs, as well as the intercoms, the EFIS format. You can see other buttons over here, system display. Likely it changes something over here, at least. Yeah, I would expect. So let's try it, right? Let's change to perf. Yeah, so that changes this part, right? So you can even control the upper part of the aircraft or of this display, and that can be done by using the buttons over here where you can say map. It will simply show you this view. You can change it to vid, which stands for video. Then it looks like it will look this is cool. It will show you probably the baggage area. You can go to MISC for miscellaneous. That's currently not available. Maybe they will implement it in the future. Then the performance, which contains all the performance data such as the zero fuel weight, the weight itself, icing, the V1, VR and the V2, as well as other options which you can say here. You can even see that you can configure the takeoff data here, right? You can simply say confirm and TO data confirmed, and that will say make sure that it's programmed correctly. Now we've got the system one, and the system one gives you an overview of the system, right? In this case it shows you the different propellers, the power of course, the X-feed, the pressure, and all kind of other related things. And then we've got the ND, the navigation display, which will show you this one, which we already had a look at. So based on that, it looks really cool. If you're a fan of flying using the autopilot, of course that's also available, right? Here you can see all the related settings where you can set the nav1 course, the heading selector, the altitude selector, nav radio 2, and then the different buttons to activate the autopilot using different options. But that will be likely part of a future video. Well, not likely, 100%. Gotta like creating those videos. Then we've got the buttons on the top, right? The buttons on the top are more, I would say, there are few buttons, especially to start the engines, but also a lot of warning lights, which will show you a lot of things like, hey, here's the, let's say, the power for. Let me try to change the angle a bit. To change the power settings, right? Here's everything related to the view, the doors, of course, where you can open and close the doors. You can even test if the door switches are working correctly. If external power is connected, then the temperature. And if we move these buttons, right, you can also see that they're moving around. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Then here's the sun visor. So you can even, I'll say, move down the sun visor, right, if you want. Where was it? You can either do it using your scroll wheel, or you can press the left mouse button then and move that one over. Here's some lights likely. If you want to switch on the other light options like the beacons, the logos, etc., they can be found here. So a lot of nice things. So I'm, I'll say, pretty happy with this aircraft. And you can see even the back and the, I'll say, marks on the door are really detailed. So with this, we're gonna end this review of this nice aircraft, because we're actually gonna, I would say, fly around in this one, probably in a future video, and also discuss the other options. You can see that the engines are already, I would say, running, but kind of, I would say, in the slower mode, right? So that's cool. You can also see that the doors are still open, so likely we first need to close the doors before we can really take off. Here ends this video. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, then consider to use the like button. If you've got questions or comments, then feel free to post in the comment box below. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm posting, then make sure that you're subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.